Well, never mind all that stuff, because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered. Yeah, I know. Amazing. But that means it's time for...
Living your life and you're feeling low. You don't know what is true. You don't know what's true. So you quick flip through the channels to watch Sunny on The View. Oh my God, the stuff she says is dumb. Where the hell they get this woman from? She's a host who's always crass and lame, with lots of nonsense to proclaim.
Sunny Hostin had a complete meltdown, and it happened so fast that even the studio lights seemed like they were judging her. Greg Gutfeld called her out so sharply that even her teleprompter looked like it glitched. The drama was so wild it felt like a reality show falling apart, with Sunny losing control faster than a cheap wig in a windstorm. Anyone who watches The View could see this moment coming, but it was still shocking. And what she said after the cameras stopped rolling was even crazier.
A lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a...
Sunny Host finally cracked in a way far bigger than her usual slip-ups on The View. This time, she had a full high-definition meltdown right in front of millions. Greg Gutfeld exposed more contradictions in 2 minutes than the show has ignored in 2 decades. The second he spoke, Sunny's calm collapsed faster than anyone expected.
So, Sunny, I bet you haven't been in a supermarket since COVID for about 3 years.
I haven't been in a supermarket since COVID. For about 3 years. That's when I discovered Instacart. And I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well. And it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs. You know those big Bounty towels you don't want to carry?
Those from Costco.
Somebody else goes.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable. Hey, but at least I tip.
It started like a normal Tuesday on The View, which usually feels more like a loud group therapy session than a talk show. Sunny Host, who acts like the legal expert with the confidence of a teen playing Guitar Hero, stood front and center. She gave deep-sounding comments that were really just blame-shifting while ignoring basic facts. That made her eventual slip even more intense.
His obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe.
If you've never watched The View, imagine a political Facebook argument happening on TV, hosted by people who skimmed one Wikipedia page and suddenly think they're experts. Sunny fits perfectly into that world. She pretends to be the voice of reason. If reason means shouting threat to democracy whenever someone disagrees with her, every tiny disagreement becomes a dramatic battle cry.
Oh, I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
Fact of life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
Everything changed the moment Greg Gutfeld jumped into the conversation. That's when things exploded into pure chaos. Greg isn't polished. He's the guest who says what everyone else is too scared to say. Sunny wasn't ready for sarcasm. The moment Greg pointed out her biggest contradictions, she folded like a flimsy chair in a storm. She always demands calm conversations, even though she spent years calling half the country dangerous. Greg didn't stop. He pulled up old clips showing how she changes her opinions depending on who's in charge. Her contradictions were so obvious, she could stitch them onto a decorative pillow.
I'm going to milk this till the end of time. You're right. Anytime she says something stupid, I'm going to go, slave owner! Kat, I just watched that. That's the second time I've watched that. She was tipped off beforehand, right? Because they had to tell her before, so she had time to regroup. They wouldn't just surprise. You think? No?
I don't know. I feel like she could have maybe done better.
Greg laid everything out clearly, showing how Sunny switches her outrage on and off like a light. Angry at conservatives, silent when liberals do the same thing. She wants investigations into someone's tweets, but defends politicians who don't even know what ethics means. The audience cheered either way. As usual, Sunny played the victim, acting like Greg's comments were an attack on women, minorities, and maybe even puppies. When she could win the argument, she turned it emotional, making the moment even more dramatic.
I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect the patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well. They want to make sure that their sons do well. They want to make sure that their children do well. And they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing.
Sunny, who often labels millions of Americans from her comfy ABC seat, suddenly fell apart because someone finally showed how often she contradicts herself. It looked like emotional gymnastics. The other hosts rushed to protect her, acting like she faced real danger instead of simple fact-checking. Whoopi Goldberg even gave her a pep talk, saying feelings mattered more than facts. Behind the scenes, producers treated this simple call-out like a full-scale crisis. You'd think Sunny would be used to criticism, but this moment hit her hard.
Joy Behar gets racism. After all, she's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brian Kilmeade wants to hang out. Maybe Joy needs a full day to read her hate mail, and that's just from the rest of the cast. So Scott had to deal with Sunny Hostin and her typical self.
Things blew up because Greg Gutfeld dared to point out the truth. Sunny cried into her fancy mug, like honesty was too painful to handle. Social media lit up instantly. People made memes calling her strong opinions, weak spine, and joking when you finally realize receipts don't lie. Even people who avoid politics notice the irony. Greg's calm, sarcastic reply went viral because people are tired of recycled talking points. The moment exposed The View as a place where everyone agrees ahead of time, and anyone who speaks honestly gets booed.
Unlike this chick, we didn't think it was the best thing that could have happened to us. Although it did get Joy Behar to wear a mask. You make me sick. It's funny, her being named Joy is like me being named ugly.
What made it even funnier was how The View tried to rewrite the story afterward. They pretended the drama wasn't about Sunny's contradictions, but about protecting women. They treated simple criticism like a federal offense. The show has turned into a bubble where no real debate ever happens. Anytime someone brings logic or a different opinion, the whole thing collapses like a cheap umbrella. Sunny's meltdown happened because years of mixed messages finally fell apart when Greg knocked him down with one comment.
did you watch the whole thing or just the parts that I sent you?
I watched it. Obviously, just the parts that you said. Did I watch a whole episode of The View?
No woman can do that unless you're stupid. But
I have a job.
Here's the thing. How can they call themselves progressives when they keep saying that nothing has progressed? Then it's on them.
Right. I just wish I could have, what I would have watched if I could, would have been Joy Behar watching that.
Yes.
And being like, I totally made the right call. It was not an accident that they had him there on her day off when she was, presented herself as the, expert on systemic racism.
And of course, Sunny tried turning her meltdown into a speech about personal growth and bravery. It was her way of saying, please forget I got caught twisting my own words. The View tried to spin the moment into something inspiring, like a superhero scene. Meanwhile, Greg didn't even raise his voice. He stayed calm, which made it worse for her. Every time she tries to climb back onto her moral high horse, people remember how quickly she collapsed when challenged. Now she's basically a walking meme.
I have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say in The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist.
Sunny's breakdown became the perfect example of what happens when constant drama meets real truth. In a fair world, The View would learn from this and invite people with different viewpoints. But that's unlikely. Instead, the show will probably offer emotional support segments and speeches about why feelings matter more than facts. Sunny will keep giving emotional speeches about truth while avoiding actual truth, like it's dangerous. Meanwhile, Greg will keep calmly pointing out the obvious, making Sunny's moment look even more dramatic each time.
More time to talk. And I thought Will Smith wouldn't let a black man finish. If her IQ was half as high as her smugness, she'd be Einstein. And later it got weird after Whoopi Goldberg asked a question and Sunny chimed in.
If nothing else, Sunny's meltdown reminded everyone of one thing. Hypocrisy eventually collapses on its own. You can hide behind emotional speeches only so long before reality shows up. The internet laughed fast and loud. Her breakdown wasn't just about being called out. It showed what happens when a fragile ego hits a solid wall of truth. The View tried spinning the drama into another emotional monologue, but the damage was done. Sunny's carefully built image cracked on camera, and everyone saw